Okay, we have light at the end of the tunnel. It might still be a pretty faint light, still out there, but it's there. And so now it's lifted my spirits just a little bit, and I can think about some of this a little bit more lightheartedly. So, got a thought exercise for you. And if you don't go to First Baptist Church, think about it in terms of your own church ministry. Let's think about the silliest long-term impact possible that social distancing might have on our ministry. And I've got one that I don't know if you can top, and that is drive-through nativity. Does it lessen the impact of zooming in on our Caesar experience if Caesar and his guards are wearing bright floral masks? Huh? Uh-huh. Or how about Al, who is our census taker, the first person you meet in costume on our set, and he is now standing 6 feet away from your car saying, "Hey, how many people y'all got in that car?" Come on, is this not great? It gets better. Mary's scene, the announcement of the angel, "Greetings, you who are highly favored," and a mask. What kind of a mask does an angel even wear? Come on, this is good. My favorite, though, might be the wise men, because our wise men have some big beards. Big, beautiful beards, and they're going to be stuffed inside a mask. Is this just me? Am I the only person who thinks this is funny? This could be a sign that I've finally succumbed to cabin fever. I don't know. But surely y'all can think of something funny in a lighthearted and totally innocent way about the long-term impacts of social distancing on church ministry. Because the truth is, there are going to be some long-term impacts. We don't exactly know what they are because we still are going through this and we don't know what's going to happen. But that's okay. I think what I've realized sitting through this is that change is pretty common. I started in ministry work in the year 2000. Has it been that long? And the changes that have happened since 2000 are astonishing. You might remember when projectors were a thing. I'm even still talking about overhead projectors at this point. We navigated projectors, and churches have learned how to use video technology as a part of their services, not without bumps in the road. Facebook is quite the thing. Facebook itself is constantly changing and adding new capabilities, and churches are adding those right along with them and figuring out ways to include that in their ministries, not without bumps in the road. And not all of these changes have been positive. In my last church, they had plans to build both a family life center and a sanctuary building. And then the economy just crumbled underneath them. And they said, all right, we're going to make do with just a family life center. And they adapted. The biggest one, probably, that any of us can think of is 9/11. Mission trip planning, preparation, hasn't been the same since. That was 20 years ago. The conditions of our world are constantly changing, and we are constantly adapting with them. Not without bumps in the road. And it's okay. Think about your own life. Go all the way back to the time that you were a child. You might have children now, or even grandchildren now. You don't live the same way that you did, even just a few years ago. You can't. Your needs themselves change. And so we're constantly adapting to the circumstances we find ourselves in life. The Bible is filled with examples of change. Just think about the worship conditions of the people of God. They went from stone altars to a tabernacle, to a temple, to synagogues, to churches. Their leadership position, they go from Moses to Joshua to judges to kings to overlords. think about the cultures they existed in. They go from Jerusalem, Jewish-speaking areas, and then they go to Greek-speaking areas, and then they go into barbarian areas. Their conditions changed fundamentally greater than our social distancing guidelines, but they adapted, they continued, they persevered. But why and how? And that's really where I want to go with all this, because the author of Hebrews has something to say to us about this. And I'm in his concluding exhortations. I'm in Hebrews chapter 13. Here's another example of change. I can't read anymore without glasses. This is what the author of Hebrews says. Keep on loving each other as brothers. Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by doing so, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. Remember those in prison, as if you were their fellow prisoners, and those who are mistreated, as if you yourselves were suffering. Marriage should be honored by all, the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. Keep your lives free from the love of money. Be content with what you have, because God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So we say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me?" Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way in life and imitate their faith. Do not be carried away by all kinds of strange teachings. It is good for our hearts to be strengthened by grace, not by ceremonial foods, which are of no value to those who eat them. So here's what's going on. The people's cultural context is changing significantly. You've got Jewish influences, you've got pagan influences, and now you've got this new apostolic influence. And the people are confused. They're concerned. And so the author of Hebrews gives them some clear, simple, affirming, and encouraging guidelines to follow. And things like, God will never leave you. This is encouraging. But in the middle of all this, he puts the linchpin. And that is the very simple statement in verse 8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. That's how we can trust all the promises of God, because they're not going to change. That's how we can trust salvation God's given us, because that's not going to change. And so the people of God have adapted to their changing social circumstances with the unchanging truth and promise of God and salvation. And that's how the author of Hebrews approaches this. There are certain things that the people can do, no matter what your circumstance. You can show brotherly love. You can meet together. You can take care of the sick. You can take care of those who've been mistreated. You can be sexually pure. You can listen to your leaders. Don't be greedy. These are things that are true of all of us of all time. And exactly how they look in your social and cultural context might be a little bit different, but the truths don't change because Jesus doesn't change. Yes, our world is changing right now. And so we adapt. Really not that big of a deal, because we have a firm foundation. We know some things that are never going to change. And we build our life on those, not the ephemeral and constantly changing circumstances of our world. We don't have to. God hasn't asked us to. He's given us His Word. He's given us His Spirit. And so we adapt. All the love, none of the hugs. All the gospel truth with a 6-foot radius. Small group Bible study, maybe over the phone. It's different. We adapt. One good thing, though, at least this time we can see it coming. So many of these changes have caught us unawares, I think would be the way to put it. That we did not realize what was happening until It had happened. Now at least we can plan for it and do our best to get out in front of it. So what I'd like you to do during this time, for right now, think about the effects that might be coming long term from just say social distancing. And if you think that some of those effects are going to be significant, think now, what can we do to get ahead of that? What can we do to adapt so that we don't have to change what we're doing, even if we have to change how we do it? And so let's look at these next few months as an adventure, an opportunity. And let's do it all with a level head, with a calm demeanor. And we can do this because we're going to do it together and because we're not going to do it alone. God has seen this coming, and God is right here with us. Let's get creative.